to call the meeting to order, please. You'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. This business meeting is being held both in person and virtually through Zoom in compliance with RSU 38 policy DED, remote participation in school board meetings. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Veronica.org YouTube channel. For public participation, please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones of the viewing audience will be muted except during the identified portions of public comments at this meeting, which is number 4 for today's agenda. This is also a budget meeting, and public comment on budget items may be given at item number 9D. If you would like to speak during the public comment times, please use the chat feature to signal Mrs. Diane McGregor, and she will communicate with me. In-person speakers, please sign up on the clipboard that's by the door. All individuals that wish to speak, whether in person or virtual, please identify yourself with your first and last name and the town that. Please note that individuals that do not live in our member communities may or may not be granted permission to speak at the discretion of the chair. We also ask that speakers limit their individual comments to 2 minutes, and if someone speaks ahead of you with an idea that is similar, please reference their comment. We thank you in advance for your constructive comments.
So attendance and all votes attendance and all votes will be done through roll call. So when your name is called, board members, please cast your vote of the 3 available options of yes, approve, no, disapprove, or abstain. So at this point, I'm going to do a quick roll call to see who's here in person and who might be online. Online people, make sure that you can hear us as well as we need to make sure we can hear you. So having said that, I believe Kim Bowie is absent tonight. Dave Gilmay?
Here.
Jay Parker?
Here.
Dane Wing?
Here.
Tyler Dunn? Are you online tonight? I can see his picture.
Here.
There he is. Awesome. Yeah.
Here.
Melissa Tobin. Is she online tonight? Okay. Patty Gordon?
Here.
Rebecca Lambert?
Here.
Betty Morrow?
Here.
Sean Roderick?
Here.
Kelsey Bowden?
Here.
And David Twitchell
Here.
is here. He's online. Awesome. Turn it back over to you.
Okay, so we're going to start tonight's meeting with our student representative. It's like the middle school is ready to go, so we're ready to listen.
Hello, my name is Celia Bergdahl. I'm an 8th grader on Moose Island. First, I'm going to be talking about the Katahdin team. In 6th grade math, they continue to deepen their understanding of integers and absolute values. In 7th grade math, they have just finished enlarging a cartoon as part of their geometry unit. And in 8th grade math, they are learning algebra. In the Katahdin team's core classes, jumping into their new trimester, they are beginning space exploration and Earth's place in the universe. On the Moose team in 6th grade math, they are finishing up a unit on fractions. In 7th grade math, students are learning ratios and proportional relationships. And in 8th grade math, we are learning algebra and systems of equations. Our new core classes, as it is the beginning of the trimester, are called Revolutionary Inventions. In that class, we are discussing different inventions as well as the meaning of revolutionary. One of the other classes is called Thingamajigs. In that class, we are learning about the periodic table. Lastly, in Tinkering with Tech, we are using these things called turning tables. They are a machine that represents the process of the inside of a computer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carter Bennett. I am representing Acadia, Sebago, and the Gifted and Talented programs. So first is Acadia. So in math, 6th grade has begun the coordinate plane. 7th grade is working on unit rates and cross multiplying. 8th grade math is beginning the second part of their unit, which involves linear equations from word problems. This is the end of their system of equations unit. So all of the math students on Acadia are working on a 6-week project that ties into Mrs. Rosner and Mr. Holman's classes. That involves finding their dream jobs, dream homes, and dream cars. They're researching the costs for things like their schooling, their housing, and their salary, and also how to budget. So in Mrs. Rosner's class, we've had a lot of people come in to teach us about their jobs. So these people include a nurse, a college professor, a Paralympic skier, and even a NASA worker, all of them having some kind of tie to Mrs. Rosner and Mr. Holman. For example, Mr. Holman coached the skier. So we are also writing editorials about if middle school students should be required to think about post-secondary education like college or other things. So then Mr. Holman's class, so now we've been learning about Maine's resources as well as its industries and doing projects on that. I'm learning the history and how many people it employs. So that's it for Acadia. So on Sebago, actually on Acadia, we're going on a field trip soon to Camden Hills. On Sebago, they're doing an Easter basket STEM challenge about budgeting and design. In argumentative writing, they're learning how to improve writing. So then on their hands-on project, they're making an Adirondack chair, as well as cornhole. And then exploration class is just working on Rube Goldberg project, where they make simple tasks, making them really complicated with simple machines, and then learning about Newton's laws of motions. So then on GT, the GT classes, it's been pretty similar to what we've been doing. So the GT math program is continuing their accelerated program. GT ELA is working on ethos, pathos, and logos, rhetoric. And so GT music is they're still working on their individual goals, and GT art is working with their new glass kiln they got. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Joseph, here to report on Royal River and school-wide and student government. In Miss Tracy's, we have started the trimester by talking about the crusade in Jerusalem. We've been talking about what it was actually like, even making a pirate code as a class. In Miss Jules, we've been talking about stereotypes, prejudice, and biased opinions. In Mr. Mrazek's, we've been talking about Lewis and Clark's adventure to the Pacific Ocean. In Ms. Ryder's, we did a research project about an event that happened during World War II or the Holocaust. In literacy, we are reading in book groups about books that are human rights, themed around human rights. Also, we have been talking a little bit more with theme and point of view. In 6th grade math, we wrapped up division and decimals this month and moved on to a unit on integers, positive and negative numbers on number lines. We looked at opposite numbers and absolute values, as well as coordinate grids. We played Battleship on coordinate grids to help build our understandings and real-life examples using money, altitude, and temperatures to work with integers. 7th grade math, we have been working on recognizing proportional relationships, creating and reading tables to see if they represent proportional relationships, creating and reading graphs to see if they represent proportional relationships. Students are also learning how to create an equation to represent a proportional relationship. In 8th grade math, we have done our Unit 4 assessment. For school-wide and student government, this week, students have learned bus safety so they can get a Taylor security card. Winter Carnival was in March, but there have been no meetings for student government. Also, there was a food drive for Ukraine.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions for any of our middle school folks? Thank you, all three of you, for those very detailed reports. It's always very interesting to hear from you, so thank you. Oh, there's a
One more
question?
thing.
Sure.
So last month, I reported on, in one of our classes, we made PSAs. So I wanted to present one today.
Nice.
And Diane will get it up for us.
Great, thank you. Thanks for remembering that. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Any other questions or comments from the board? Sean?
Are you gonna are those gonna go like on the school website, or do you know where they're gonna go?
That would be a question for Ms. Tracy.
Great work.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or you can go ahead and go home. I believe that our high school reps, I'm not sure if we have somebody online from the high school rep, but I think they're all off doing sports or other activities tonight. So I'm not sure that we have anyone from high school. Is there anyone online from high school? One of our reps online?
She did it all on her own.
Okay, thank you again, middle school folks. So do we have any citizen comments that are not related to the budget?
Yes,
Go ahead, John.
thank you very much. Yeah, well, good evening, and what a wonderful evening, and it's so great to see students without masks enjoying the rest of their school year. I know you're going to be talking about protocols coming up and with all the cases that happened this past couple of weeks. I just simply wanted to add some data to help as you do your analysis later this evening. I wanted to make sure you understood that the Kennebec County all-time cases per 10,000 individuals is running roughly about 1,884. The school this year calculated that the cases per 10,000 individuals is now running around 3,978, which is almost double the community infection rate. And so you have to ask the question, with all of the protocols that the school has had to use that have been based on CDC and DOE guidelines, how is it that the school would end up with double the rate of the community at whole? And I just want to bring to your attention, especially at the high school where this latest outbreak occurred, the research has showed that vaccinated individuals are at a higher risk of getting COVID because the vaccines actually lower your immunity. The vaccines don't prevent you from getting COVID, and they actually lower your immunity. That could be one reason why you will see an uptick in cases with a school system that has over, I think it's 93, 95% vaccination rate of staff. And also the parents and teachers might have dropped their protocols for screening before they come to school. This I can't tell you for sure. But one data point I would encourage you to get from the nurses or from Jay would be how many staff and students have been infected this year. Break it out between people who've been vaccinated and people who have not been vaccinated. I think this will help you understand why vaccination may not work and hopefully validate what I just told you about the current research. So again, I hope that helps you when you're doing your evaluations later tonight. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Okay. So let's go on. Does anyone from the board or Jay have additions or adjustments to the agenda?
I do have one addition to the agenda. We'll make it number 7J. And it will be to discuss the Zoom meeting on April 13th. We are doing we've got a pilot with Zoom to try a couple of features. So we just want to make sure that you guys understand what those features are. Diane will walk us through it. It'll take literally 2 minutes, very short. I just want you guys to be aware.
Thank you. Is that all right with everyone that we add that to the agenda? Okay. Good. Thank you. So now we have a celebration, I believe.
Yes. So Michael, would you like to share the celebration that came out of our unfortunate high school situation? So I'll let Michael share. Yeah. Silver lining.
All right. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Charette, and members of the community. So out of the current circumstances at the high school, I do celebration to acknowledge. That is, we knew within a number of days that getting students to CATSI would be a challenge, and we knew it was also very important. So across the district, with help, we've been able to provide an alternative for transportation for our students so they can arrive at school normally and then leave and go to the 4 different communities that we serve. Transportation coordinator as well as principals have all pitched in to make this happen. And I want to report that everyone's been very enthusiastic and just focusing on helping our students so that they may attend CATSI. And, Abby, I want to point out her response summed it up, I think, best of all. When I asked for this support, getting students to their campuses, she said that they were our kids not long ago. So again, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I think that was a really important thing that you were able to do to get those kids to CATSI, because that's very important. And so thank you. Thank you, everybody, for making that work.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? So we have the reports in our packet. Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of the reports? I just would like to say one thing. I'd like to offer the board, the board's congratulations to Brandon Jasper and London Putnam, who had earned medals in the Skills USA competition through CATSI. I think that's an awesome thing that they did, and I think they deserve our praise and our congratulations. So nice job. And I believe London's going on to the next state level. So that's awesome. Good work. Okay. So we also have the committee's dates for the next committee meetings listed in our agenda. Is any questions about any of that?
I was just curious where the next one on implant was on the health advisory committee minutes.
Oh, we have
Discuss capacity for HIV testing and next one on implants at school. Just curious what that is.
Sarah, I know you're online. Do you mind talking about that? Hold on.
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so the next one on implant is a birth control implant that our medical provider is trained to do. So she was interested in talking with Maine Family Planning to see if that was something that we could offer as a service in the school. Does that make sense?
That would require parental consent for?
Yeah, so it would be like I'm not sure whether we could actually do it. And I think it would definitely require some more discussion because it would be more like a procedure. So, I think it would be more complicated than just like, could we do it? But kind of, what would the sort of capacity for the school as a whole to do that? I mean, the provider has expressed interest, but we want to have a more kind of in-depth conversation with Maine Family Planning about what it would entail and whether, we could safely and kind of effectively do it at school within the kind of what we have currently set up with consents and stuff from parents. So yeah, I think it would like at another level of birth control, unlike some of the things that we're able to do confidentially. I think that, if we were to undertake something like that, it would require some discussion about what level of consent the school needed.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So it's super, super like premature, definitely a hypothetical sort of question, but might be something that the school could do as an extension of our partnership with Maine Family Planning. And similar with, I think you also asked about the HIV testing. Our medical director has brought to our attention that it's sort of a standard that all teens, it's recommended to screen all teens at some point as part of like a well child visit. So we're sort of talking about whether if the school health center is the sort of only point of care that students might have with a medical provider. Is that something that we could do to sort of help? Because it is a recommendation from like the U.S. Preventive Task Force that, could the school do that sort of as an extension, like a care extender from the primary cares within the community. So that's another discussion that we're just sort of starting to have about whether that's something that we're able to do, comfortable doing, whether we can sort of, again, do it safely and within the kind of parameters of our current agreements with the community.
Thank you.
So kind of a quick question for you. I know that a lot of this is in the beginning stages, but what kind of liability does that hold for the school? Are we liable for it, or is it part of the community outreach that kind of pays for that liability? And would we have to set up somewhere separate that would actually be a pretty clean and sterile area to do a procedure like that to prevent infection?
Those are great questions. And I think, I think that space-wise, we could probably accommodate. I mean, we do, have like an exam room and we have equipment. But I think those are exactly the questions that we would have to, if it's something that Maine Family Planning was willing to sort of partner with us on. I mean, our providers, our provider comes from Maine General, is like employed by Maine General, is covered by all of the like insurances and stuff that that are required for a medical provider through Maine General. So I think, that would all continue to kind of reside with the provider. But I think it would be really important for the school to know what sort of liability was we were assuming, and, what part of it we would need to be prepared for. And that, that frankly might truly, I mean, stuff like that could be the deal breaker, or even just, sort of space accommodations, like what do we have access to within the school, and supplies wise, and just cleaning supplies and cleaning areas, stuff like that. Recovery, those kinds of things. It may or may not be something that we have the capacity to do, but I'll definitely report back. I'm meeting with Maine Family Planning tomorrow to have, the very first discussion to say, hey, our provider is interested in possibly doing this. What do you think? And I will definitely, sort of report back, because I don't know that it's certainly not a single decision that would happen between us and them. I think it would involve the school as a whole for sure, to start doing any kind of procedure, regardless of whether it's, birth control related or otherwise. So yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, moving on to the action items. The first one is the approval of the minutes from March 16th meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve of minutes of March 16, 2022.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Now, any discussion? No discussion? Take a vote.
All right, Dave Gilmay, start us off.
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy, Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
and mine.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
So is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 23rd meeting?
I move that we approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2022 meeting.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? No discussion? We'll do a vote.
All righty. Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Abstain.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Abstain.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
So 2 abstentions and 3, or excuse me, 9 yeses.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the donations?
I move we accept the donations as listed.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, help me out. Thank you.
No discussion? Take a vote.
All righty. Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
There we go. Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yeah.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
All right, unanimous.
So is there a motion to accept the teacher resignation of Marco Claire?
Motion to acceptance of teachers' resignation effective June 30th, 2022, high school alternative education, Mark O'Clair.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just one thing.
Go ahead.
He mentioned that he wants to help in training his replacement. We're definitely open to that, right?
Oh,
Like,
yes.
we're-
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Like, I just want to make
Oh,
that very
yes.
clear. Yes, please come train.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion?
All right, David Gilmay.
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
sorry, Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
So is there a motion to consider the request for a 50% leave of absence for Angela Palmer?
I move that we grant Angela Palmer's request for a 50% leave of absence for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What does that look like? Sorry.
Yep.
Just curious.
Yep, so what we're looking at is she would basically on a calendar mark off those days that she's working. And we would have the other person working actually full-time. So then we would actually have a spare nurse, because right now we have no spare nurses. We can't get anybody to do it. So we would try to help kind of coordinate when nurses have to be out for appointments for their families or other things, that we would have that kind of spare nurse built in at least for one more year. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, and just I think on that note, we haven't adjusted that in the budget. We would have to do that. I was waiting for the vote. And then if the vote does pass, then we will make the adjustment for in the budget next week. So just so people know, okay?
Patty?
Can I just trying to process what you just said, Jay. So what you're saying is her reduction, a leave of absence of 50% leaves us with 50% more?
Yeah, yes, basically that what it amounts to. Because of where this person is on the scale, and the person that would replace, there's a cushion there. So that's already built into the budget.
Okay.
So the only adjustment is what I had mentioned in that memo was about $10,000 to finish and make sure that person is full-time. The replacement is actually full-time for us, and we'll do there's like lots of things that they can do to help out, screenings and stuff like that at the elementary schools too. So
Okay.
it felt like a win-win for us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion?
Okay, all right, Dave Gilmay. you're
Yes.
up. Jade,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty, and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimously.
So we have a second reading for policy ABBGBB. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve policy ABB/GBB, staff involvement in decision making.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? discussion?
All
We'll take a
right.
vote.
Dave Gilmay, hit me
Yes.
first. Jade,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelsey. Yeah. And David Twitchell.
Yes.
They are unanimous.
Is there a motion for the consideration of Mount Vernon Elementary School out of state?
Motion to consider of the out-of-state trip from Mount Vernon Elementary, grade 5th, Boston, Mass. On June the 9th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I do have a question. So this does not include a bus, right?
No, they're
Parents.
funding their own bus.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so they're gonna drive to Portland, get on the train, take the train to Boston,
Yes.
and come back.
See Mrs. Delmar
Right, right.
nodding her head, yes.
Yeah. That's cool. Awesome. Okay, that's all. Any other questions? Or-
I just think it's so exciting to see students get field trips again. So exciting.
Awesome.
We did a trip like this when I was in school and it was always the highlight.
Oh, good. Dave Gilmay,
Yes. Joy.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
and Sean,
Yes.
Kelsey, and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Is there a motion for the consideration of the school year 22-23 school calendar?
That we approve the 2023 school calendar as presented.
Is there any discussion?
I just have the same question. I feel like I always ask about this. And so I think I already know the answer. It's a question for you, Jay. So when we see this, it's already been through everybody, staff's given input, all, it came to everybody. Yes. Thank you.
Is it flex day always on this? I don't remember seeing
Yes,
a
yes.
solid
Yeah, we
triangle
always
before.
include them, yes.
And this-
Workshops we normally have a year.
So it's back to pre-pandemic, so full day workshop, oops, hold on. My eyes will focus, it's a challenge some days. So designated early releases, we have 6, which again is the pre-pandemic. And then the full day workshops, 2 at the beginning, 1 in October, and then 1 full one in March. Those are the teacher ones.
That's normal.
That's what?
Those are normal.
Those are normal, yes. That is not above and beyond. We're not asking for anything extra. Sean?
It's probably an obvious question, but what's a flex day? What does that mean?
So the teachers have 182 days in their contract and there's 182 work days and teachers can do outside professional development to count for the last day of the last work day of the school year. And they can do that per their contract. They submit the work that they did and the principal sign off on it.
Thanks.
So that they don't have to be that last day, because they've already had it, that's kind of been a flex day.
Jade, is this, I think I know the answer to this question too, but this aligns with the other districts that go to CATSI.
Yes, one of the things that we tried to do, and I'll be very honest, there has been some movement on the early release days. This was drafted back in, I think it was January or February. And some school districts have moved a few of the early release days, but those early release days don't impact CATSI in terms of dissimilar days. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. I know there's been a few changes, but nothing major.
Any other questions or discussion?
So why do you do an early release day on Wednesdays? Why don't we stick to Fridays or something like that? That way it's easier for parents to.
Yeah, what we try to
accommodate it.
do is because of the way the schedules run, we try not to have it hit the same like special every Wednesday. Like let's say they have gym every Wednesday. we don't want them to lose 6 gym classes over the course of 6 Wednesdays. So we try to move it around, same with the high school and the middle school, because their schedules are all a little different. And if we had just one consistent day, they would lose that, whatever happens to be on that day. So try to move it around just for the kids.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I guess that's all the questions and discussion. We can vote.
All righty. Here we go. Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa. Oh, sorry, she's not here. I apologize, you guys. Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
So the next thing on the agenda is an update on the health and safety procedures and protocols.
So what I put together was what we've typically done. There is one adjustment that I found that was off. So on the second page that has the Marana Cook updates, the number on March 25 should be 437. And then, sorry, do I have that backwards? And then, sorry, number 6, April 1st, the number should be 465. And then on the reverse side of that, again, I apologize, March 25, the number is 437. Again, we've had that spike at the high school. We do have 7 staff cases as of now, but they're not all at the high school, thankfully. So we're still dealing with that. But as far as student cases at the other schools there, the middle school, I believe, had 6. And I only had 1 in the elementary schools. So I feel like it's still pretty contained for the most part at the high school. And we're just trying to weather that storm. If there's different data that you guys would like, I'm certainly willing to get that for you. I'm obviously not making or recommending any changes at this time to what we're currently doing. I think it's going to pass, especially with the coming April vacation, and we'll kind of reset and we'll be back to normal again. Or at least knock on wood, that's what I'm hoping for. So, but I'm not recommending any changes. But again, if there's any information you guys want me to include in this, please let me know. I'm more than willing to get that for you. If it helps.
Thank you, Jay. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation that we continue with the protocols and procedures as they've been?
I motion to accept the health and safety procedures and protocols as they stand.
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. We'll take a vote.
Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade, Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
There we go. Unanimous.
And the next thing is to hear about the Zoom meeting for April 13th.
So we're going to invite Diane up to talk about that just very briefly. We'll make it very, very quick.
Hi, everyone. So we've had an opportunity to do a pilot, a free trial of Zoom webinar. And when Jay and I were talking with the representative from Zoom, it really provides some extra pieces for our hybrid meetings that we've been having that would, I think, really benefit the group. But I wanted to sort of talk to you guys about it so you know that it's going to be just a little bit different. The first benefit is that when board members join the Zoom meeting, I can promote them to a panelist. And so instead of having everybody's names across the top, you would just see the board members in the room. And then the attendees to the webinar, which would be the board meeting, would be on the side. And so that allows us to really focus on the board members who are in the room, kind of, they become a little bit more inclusive. And it adds a layer of security. I don't have to watch to make sure that people aren't gonna unmute when they shouldn't be, and that whole piece of it. The second thing that it does is, like, for example, if John Harker wanted to speak, I could promote him to a panelist, have him speak, and then take him off as a panelist. And so that really allows me some flexibility to help people, recognize who's speaking and get exactly where people need to be for those public comment times. It allows me to not worry so much about Zoom bombers, which is a concern and something that I take very seriously when we're having these kinds of meetings, that I just, watch that room pretty well. And it has happened once, last year. And but the controls are a little bit different. So it's going to feel a little different if you join in, both as just a participant to the webinar, which would be the school board meeting. And if you're coming in as a school board member, what we'll do is, once you come in, I'm going to promote you as a panelist, and then you'll show, so to speak. One of the protocols, which is really nice as a board member, is if you are speaking, if you put on your camera when you're remote, that's a nice effective way for us to see you and have you be a part of the meeting. So, and I know sometimes that doesn't really work very well because you might be in a place where you can't get good signal and that sort of thing. And so then your face, if you have a picture there, would show up, and that's like the next best thing. So does anybody have any questions about that? Because I'd like to try it on April 13th, if that's all right. Yes.
Well, if the remote board members are now like panelized kind of person, maybe we could just do raise hand, so.
We have to do roll call. Nice try, though.
Yeah.
Try.
But it also would be like a little bit easier, maybe you wouldn't have to unmute and mute all the time. Do you know what I mean? Depending on, but I was hoping that the April 13th meeting might be a great meeting to try that out, see how we feel about it, and then make a decision of, yeah, that feels pretty good. We like to do that. But there is a subscription to it. Yep. But I do feel like these meetings aren't going away, right? We're going to be having these hybrid meetings, and I think security is good. And I also think just promoting ourselves professionally looks good. So,
John?
It's how they do it at the legislature, and it works really well. The people are always on the screen who are on the committee.
Yeah,
They're participating.
yeah.
It works extremely well, and it does professionalize it. So I think it's great. Thanks for putting the work on it.
Jade?
So the only question, what is the price tag on it?
What is it, $690? I think
It's $690 for the full year, but obviously we'd be looking at, it would honestly cost us just a little over $100 to finish this school year with it. So it's, I think, worth the cost. It's not a budget breaker, that's for sure. So.
Okay. I didn't know if it was something we needed to add into our budget.
I know, right? Okay.
Great, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are moving into the budget workshop.
All right, so we have some handouts for you. We'll get those out and then I'll start speaking if you guys will hang on just a minute. Donna's good. She's got the handouts ready to go to push out to the people that are on Zoom, so.
It's the change is great for her.
So what I'm going to do is run through the first page, which is the April 6th updates to the budget. I thought it would be worthwhile, based on where we are in the budget, to just review what is still in the budget, so everyone kind of has a handle on what are the things that we've left in at this point. And then again, today, if there's, once we're looking at the next packet, if we want to make adjustments, we can talk exactly what's kind of still there. So the facilities budget still has a maintenance position built in. The transportation budget still has the testing costs built in, a 20-hour position built in, and then the driver recruitment and one new bus. Remember last time we took out, we went from 2 down to 1. The adjustments to extra co and extracurricular activities that are still in the budget. Again, the uniforms at the middle school and high school, we're going to try to phase up to what the original request is. So those are basically half. Same with the cross-country assistant coach and football and lacrosse as well. The adult education still has 10,000 for CDL course to get off the ground for our high school students. Food service has the 2-door refrigerator, and last time we upped that a little bit, but Jen's very confident with their supplier that'll actually probably be a little less than 5,000, but depending on when we get it ordered, we figured to just leave it at 5,000. So positions that we had discussed, the support for the elementary social worker position, that is already in the regular budget. We budgeted 75,000, and that's like salary and benefits all together. So just so that you guys know, that's everything for that position. The elementary guidance position, we will be able to get out of ESSER 3, and that amounts to about a little over $52,000. Just so that you guys know, but we'll write it into ESSER, the ESSER 3 where we write the grant to get that. Same with the nurse for Mount Vernon and Wayne, that'll come out of the ESSER 2. So we'll have one more funded, those 2 positions funded through the grant for at least 1 more year. The textbooks you can see there. The industrial arts equipment, the laser fume extractor, the middle school, high school database. We still have the 6th grade laptops to a cost of $52,450. That is all still there. We haven't made any adjustments to that. We're very fortunate. We got our adjustment just today on health insurance. It came in at 2.334 is the actual percent. So Mandy reduced that down from 10% down to 2.33. So when you're looking at the other page, it's a significant savings there. Energy cost, again, Mandy did some homework on this. So electrical costs, we'd originally had it at 40%. So we have reduced it down to 15%. Diesel and propane costs, we'll be looking to bid this summer based on advice that we're getting. but we did budget a 25% increase, is kind of what the forecast looks like. So the reducing the electrical costs, but adjusting oil, diesel and propane kind of is a wash there, just so you guys know. It's one of those things that kind of washed itself out. And we did reduce an online subscription to a program called Lexia that we use at the elementary level. So we're going to actually put that in the ESSER 3 as well. We can rewrite that in there. So we were able to reduce by about 10%. The outstanding at this point, do have one more there. The property and casualty and liability and dental insurance, we're waiting for those rates to come in. We expect to have those any day now. So we'll make adjustments. But truth be told, those will probably be fairly minor adjustments. They won't be any major savings there, so to speak. And then we will adjust the leave of absence that you just gave us. So that'll be one more, again, smaller deduction, a smaller adjustment, but it's there. So I'll go to the next page, and then we can, if you guys want to deliberate further or give us more direction, you certainly can do that. So the next packet, you'll start with the summary page. Again, it's all broken down by the different schools and different areas. You'll see that we have it down at this point to 5.68% increase, which is down just a little over 1% from last time, which is, again, fairly significant. If you turn the page, a couple things that I want to point out to you when you're looking at the revenue areas. So on the, if you look at the 22-23 column, going down where it says state national teacher funding, we were able to get our actual number based on this current, this current year to what it will look like next year. So we did have to reduce that because we have a couple of teachers that are retiring that have that certification that will obviously no longer be paying for. So there's an adjustment there. The balance forward, we were able to kind of nail it down at about $800,000. That is significant because it helps the town, the local share. That's what that number comes into play. So when that number is a little bigger, it actually helps the town. Last year we had $1 million, Gary, and I think a lot of that had to do with things weren't running the way they normally would. And this year we're kind of back to normal, but not back to normal yet. So it's not as quite as high as $1 million, but by being very thoughtful and efficient with resources, we're able to put it in at about $800,000. And again, on the next page, that comes into play fairly significant way. The additional local dollars, so that's the adjustment based on that moving target of what's in the budget and what's been taken out of the budget. But that's the additional local dollars that would be needed to fund from the, and then you can see the total budget down there at the bottom is just a little over $20 million. So those two final numbers play a pretty big role as well when you go into the third page of the local dollar calculation. The thing, I'm not going to go over all those numbers, there's a lot of numbers there. What I'm going to draw your attention to is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th box down that says 22-23 total local contribution. And you'll see what it says as a district and across the 4 towns. The thing that I'd like to draw your attention to is those numbers were significantly higher last time. When you go across, it's a little lower and a little higher in a couple places. But we were able to lower that local contribution by almost 4% across the 4 towns. So again, that is pretty significant going forward to be able to bring that down. So again, the carry forward really helps us with that, being able to do that. So again, lots of numbers there. And that's kind of where we are right now. You guys will give us any final direction tonight on next Wednesday, April 13. That would be the date that we vote on the budget. So again, we'll need people here. You actually sign off on the warrants. There's paper that goes around and all that kind of stuff. So get your writing hand ready to, or your signature ready, because you'll be writing a lot next Wednesday. But again, the last minute, we'll just do final tweaking, and whatever you give us for direction tonight, we'll make those final changes as well. So open it up to any questions, comments. I've got Mandy and myself here, so I think Sean's. Go ahead, Sean.
So if you look at this page here, page
Yes.
1, 2, 3, I think I understand, but I just want to make sure I'm understanding. The 1, 2, 3, fourth box down.
Yep.
Yeah. So Manchester will be paying 0.31% less than the, is that what that's saying?
That is what it's saying.
And then Mount Vernon's about even, then
Yeah.
Reed Field's up 2.82%,
Yeah. And
and Wayne's
also-
up 2.91%.
So when you're looking at that, the thing you want to think about is it's that 50% valuation and 50% student count. We shared with you valuations. And if you have high valuations and a high student count, that's kind of bad news. But if you have low valuation and low student count, that's bad news. So Reed Field is in one of those and Wayne is in the other one of those. So when you're looking, it kind of washes out if you have high valuation, low student count, or high student valuation. So think of it as 4 boxes and the boxes based on that 50%. I hope that makes sense. And Mandy, correct me if I've said something wrong here.
No, that's accurate. And the top half is the figures that we get directly from the state.
Yeah.
79. That's not anything that we can change.
No. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
For sure.
Follow up. So how did this, I think, we had the counselor and the social work, we talked about that. How did that end up playing out?
So with the social worker, that was all built in right from the beginning, so that was there. And since we have the elementary guidance and the nurse coming out of grants, it doesn't factor, they're not in the local share. I hope I'm answering your question.
So everybody's going to be able to stay.
Yes.
That's for the chase. That's what, let's cut to the chase. Okay, perfect.
I like it.
Yeah.
The fact that we hired some of those positions so late in the year, we actually had savings that we'll be able to fund them for next year.
I have more, but I'll wait.
Dane?
I forget, was this maintenance position, was it needed or is it?
Yes. Remember you weren't here. Sorry, Dane. That's good. One of the things that Sean, what he's looking for is by adding that maintenance position in, he can actually reduce about a $35,000 contract service, because that maintenance person can take care of it as part of their job duties. And he's also got now another built-in person who can sub when we're running low on.
And wasn't there a subscription for the bus transportation?
Yes, we're going to get that out of this year's budget. We're working with Kelly to be able to get that out of this year's budget as it continues forward.
But it's going to be like this is
Right.
every
right,
year.
Right. It'll be in every year.
Is that like 50,000 or something like that?
About 5,500. Sorry. Yes.
And then the social worker, what was 75 is
Yep.
for,
That's salary and the benefits. That's everything. So,
and as of right now, that's in the budget.
and that's in the budget right now. Yes.
How, I know that people talk about how important it is, but I feel it's more important to give to the people who are here working for us, our staff. If we take that out, would that open up more opportunities to have more leeway with?
Yeah, good question. The thing about the social worker is it's a specialty licensed clinical social worker, which is actually able to diagnose, write behavior plans.
Right,
consult
I understand
with
that, but
teachers.
there's people here who are in the district currently as teachers, and before we go hiring other people, shouldn't we focus on who's here first before we start losing more and more?
Yeah.
That's my thought. I would like you all to know that I don't feel that this needs to be in the budget this year. I understand there's a huge crisis going on, but I think we need to look where we're at now at our school, our teachers.
So just to respond to that, Jane, I feel like we are taking away support from the teachers by getting rid of our math and literacy instructional coaches. And if we don't do this social worker, I feel like that's a further taking away from support for the teachers. So I just feel like, we need to support our teachers, whether it's with more resources, which is what I think they really, it would be nice if we could give them more money, but I also think that we've got to support them as much as we can. And if we're already taking away 2 positions that support them, I think this one remains crucial.
I would have to probably beg to differ, just hearing from teachers that I don't really think that that's their concern. I don't know if you've seen the numbers from towns close to us, but I think like Litchfield is, you go over there to teach, it's almost a $10,000 pay raise. There was just a recruiting event for teaching, whatever, and there was all these districts there. And I don't believe RSU 38 showed up. So I think we need to start here, focus here. It's my opinion. Rebecca?
I hear what both of you guys are saying, and I think back to the conversation, I don't remember what her name was, who came and spoke to us last week?
Yes. Carol.
And I guess I got the feeling from her that they wanted to keep their guidance counselor that they currently had, and they weren't as concerned about having a social worker because the social worker would help them get services in the community and help the whole family. And from what I understood from what she said, she didn't feel like there were services out there that could help right now. And that did I misinterpret that wrong?
No, I know where you're going with that, and I'm recalling that conversation from her as well, and she did say she loved what she has.
Right.
The person that's working alongside her, for the love of God, don't get rid of her. But she did voice, if I remember correctly, said it would be great to have another person, but not necessarily needed right now. And even if she did or could, she will reason that they're strapped anyway, but they do have a good referral program that they're currently utilizing. I recall so like that. Don't walk our boat, if I remember. Although she walked them in a very person, but shut that door. But it didn't seem as hot.
So was she in support of this or she was not?
She would like it, but she wanted the guidance counselor more than the social worker, or at least I felt like she thought it was more important that they have the current guidance counselor because they've had a rapport with the students. They built that kind of connection with them, and to have those students go to somebody new would be more disruptive than continuing.
But this is a whole different avenue than a guidance counselor, right?
It is a whole different animal. There's a lot of things that a social worker can do and is licensed to do versus what a guidance counselor is able to do and licensed to do.
Tyler?
My larger question is back to Dane's point. What was the logic behind cutting the literacy and math specialist in the upcoming budget? When I know, yeah.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Because I know Kathy just mentioned that, we talk about supporting the teachers, and I can speak from experience having been with a literacy specialist. What was the logic behind reducing the number of literacy and math specialists we have in the district?
So we didn't actually reduce any in a school. What we did is we looked at our district level literacy and math position. And based on the way that we have structured things, we actually have more teacher voice and capacity right now than we've had in the past. And it seems a little redundant to have those positions. Not that they're not doing good work, because they're doing absolutely great work. But it feels like we can actually give more voice to the teachers and give them a chance to interact with with the literacy and or math special interventionists that are in their schools. By doing that, we're building a system with the capacity to be able to do that. And it just felt like at this point, if we're going to look at a budget that's at the time it was well over 10%, then we needed to probably look at positions that didn't directly impact students per se. But knowing we had something in place that we were building that actually is, in my view, going to be to the pipeline and flow of information between teachers and their literacy specialists, I looked at how can we be efficient.
Okay.
Patty?
I just wanted to say, to piggyback on what Rebecca said, because I had the same recollection that you did answering your question of what Tara Wick said last time. My impression was that she said that in her preference would be to have both, but if she could only have one, it would be the counselor that she has. Don't touch the counselor, right? That was, I'm just reiterating because that's what I heard.
Any other discussion? Sean, did you have something else?
Oh,
So you,
okay.
oh, you said you wanted to come back to.
I did. A couple things is the 800, I mean, you say, you say 800, that was 1,800,000. What was like the pre-COVID, like,
Yeah.
because that's not, is that gonna be, what's a normal carryover, I guess,
So
if there's ever gonna be a
normal-
thing?
You want to answer that or am I okay?
I mean, I haven't done the budget in the past, so
Right.
what I can tell you is the last few years, it's usually anywhere between 300 and 500. A lot of things impact that. For example, special ed has had a hard time covering all their ed techs. So when those positions aren't filled, then we end up with a surplus in that particular line. That doesn't mean we don't need those positions. They're still in the budget for next year because they really are needed. We're just struggling to fill them.
Right.
The other thing that can impact that is you have a veteran teacher that's been here 25, 30, 40 years, and they get done and their replacement comes in with, no experience or very little experience. And now, again, you budgeted for a teacher at a significantly higher pay scale. Other things that impact it are when people switch from, let's say, taking full family health coverage to now getting cash in lieu. Those are big swings that can change the budget. So all of those things can fluctuate in your budget. So I think normally it's anywhere between 300 to 500,000. Once we start doing, like, there's a lot of field trips that didn't take place and things like that. So once those things start getting back to normal and we can get fully staffed, I think you'll see that number go down.
Right, the reason I asked that question is because there could be like a $300,000 or $400,000 cliff in next year's budget, so. And then I guess the follow-up isn't exactly, well, it is budget related because it's about saving money. Have we done, and maybe we've done this and I forgot, like an energy audit or putting thermostats or making sure window, and the reason I ask is because energy prices might go down some, but if you read or pay attention, it's not going to drop back to ever to where it was. That's what the pros are saying. And I think it might be worth a little bit of money to Efficiency Maine or somebody to go through our buildings and see how we can say, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a huge savings, but every little bit helps. Like putting heat systems on timers and lights on timers and that type of stuff. So I was just wondering if that's ever been done in our district. And if not, if it's, I mean, I'm not trying to add more work. I'm happy to talk to folks to be helpful. So I just want to put that out there.
I feel like we did do that a few years ago, and unfortunately, I don't know if Sean's here to weigh in on this, but we did have a Siemens contract. I believe it may, and I'm sorry, but you lose time when you've been here a while, but it may have been 10 years ago, and they came in and did a lot of things, like we changed out some of our heating systems, we changed out lighting to be more efficient, and so Sean would be the better person to talk to that,
I was
but
just-
we did do a contract with Siemens, but it has been a while.
I was just wondering, because I know something else I was working on, putting stuff on timers. I couldn't believe, it wasn't huge, but it was a savings, how much it saved an organization I was involved in, so.
I'll definitely take you up on that, Sean.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with that because energy stuff isn't going away. It might go down some, but these prices are unfortunately here to stay.
David? Are you muted, David? David?
Thank you. I just got cut off for a minute. I'm very grateful for Sean's proposal there and that we've had what we have done so far. I think on the energy, that'd be good. On the counselor, my impression and feeling was, as was expressed by some of the others, that the counselor and the social worker, that the counselor to our present evaluation was the most important, but the social worker was something that we've needed for a number of years and that the need was even more severe now. And so, and I feel like the way it was discussed and the way you and the administration planned it, Jay, it was working on keeping the support for the teachers as is definitely so important, and yet bringing in that additional support for the students, their families, and through that, the teachers. Thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you, David. Any other questions or comments? Kelty?
Question for you, Dave. So I'm trying to figure out what you're thinking. So are you thinking like utilize that money back towards these teacher days? Where you allocate that to a new supported cycle versus social or the other that, or just into like teacher's salary?
It's not how that works.
Well, I just.
No, I know, but I understand that. We'll talk in executive session, I guess. I just think it's all backwards, that we'd rather have a laser fume extractor than pay our teachers what they should be.
Any other questions or discussion? Are there any comments from the city regarding the budget? No? Okay. So do you have enough? Class, are you?
I think so.
Are you good to?
I think so.
Okay. Good. So next on the agenda is a motion to go into executive session.
I move we move into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 4056D, labor contract discussions between the RSU 38 Board of Directors and the Maranacook Area School Staff Association.
So it's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Oh, I gotta do it. Sorry. Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade. Oh, she went, that's okay. Dave,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty,
Yes.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. So we're going in at 7:49. We'll wait just a minute. Yep. So for anyone who is watching online, Mrs. Diane McGregor is going to move you into a waiting room. As soon as the board comes out of executive session, we will move you back in for the last part of the meeting. So if you'll hang tight for just a second, she'll start moving you over.
Myself?
Yeah, it's right over there. Yeah.
I would have gone there.
Yeah.
wonder if like the actual badges themselves only actually have like the kid's name and like maybe photo attached to it, and then it actually goes into a different database that
It has
sets
an
up and
RFID
pull
on it. It's a passive RFID, so when they scan it, it's scanning information so that the bus driver can see it, but what they're receiving is what I'm questioning.
Right, which is what I'm wondering if it's just like a name and a picture, because that's typically what pops up. I believe that's what I'm thinking,
Yeah,
and
and
then
I
it goes
don't
to the
know, that's why
database,
I'm
and the database pulls the location.
Right.
But it wouldn't be off of the badge, it would be off of the database that it's registering the name from, typically.
Well,
And the
if
ones that
if
I've
it's
seen before,
passive
that's how it
RFID, then
goes.
that ID is specific.
At Nichols College, we have ID tags to get into all of our buildings. And the only thing that ID tags off to is a unique user identification tag that links back to our central database server and registers whether or not that ID tag can open the door. So I don't think there's a lot stored on the individual card. It's just a specific unique identification
So-
number.
We'll ask Kelly to bring some answers to these questions at our next meeting next week. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct, that's what
Right.
my wife
Yeah.
read, not gonna hide it, and said it's
That was
gonna
the
tell where they
point,
live.
that it gives you
And
the
then some one
address.
weirdo figures it out when Austin loses his bag every other week.
I heard that myself.
They know that's.
Yeah.
They can just bring it back.
Okay.
I don't know.
So then they can bring it
Oh, they show up at your house.
So before we adjourn, I just want to go over our norms one time and just see how people think we're doing with our norms. So we've got them in your packet. If you just look at it and think if you have anything to say about any of our norms.
Yeah, great discussion tonight.
I think everyone got a turn to talk if they wanted to. And if not, I made up for it.
Respectful group.
I think that we are always keeping kids at the center.
I always look forward to
Okay, you want to adjourn? Yeah. Okay.
Do it.
Adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.